nothing to do with you being a freelancer or entrepreneur or working as an employee. It has to do a lot with empathy.
Agency, if you are in office after 7, your salary is cut.
I started a special Slack channel just for appreciating each and every individual.
Agencies don't need shepherds, they need facilitators.
In your own emotional intelligence and work on that, because every single day you have to take multiple decisions, and each and every decision can lead to a different outcome.
Any employer, any person trying to join a small agency, just know that we as founders, we cry too. We grab our favorite person or pillow or dog or anything we have and we cry too.
This conversation I really wanted to have, and I'm going to keep having this conversation on the platform, is that you guys are the ones who are kind of taking over from the, the traditional role of what and how agencies have been like. And you guys are paving your own path in your own way, adding your own amazing mix. And I really want to hear and understand, how are you guys doing it? How are you building your brands? And this is for other people to know that people like you exist, so they don't have to go to those, big giants who have been exploiting them for so long. And two, that others also follow suit perhaps. So you want to eventually build a bigger network of people who are actually creating workplaces that are tolerable. And yeah, that's about it. I think I would like for you to introduce yourself. Anyone can start.
So hi guys, hi everyone. I am Vivek, and I'm probably the youngest of us all here, because even in terms of experience in marketing, I have just 3 years of marketing. I started back in college while I was doing my software engineering. Another surprise. So I pivoted to marketing even before I graduated during COVID. It was 2020. And I did 1.5 years of straight freelancing and full-time roles combined, and even independent freelancing roles. But again, LinkedIn was so overwhelming at first, but again fruitful at the end, and it was giving me a lot of good quality projects. So that's why I started hiring subcontractors, trying to build a sort of agency. But again, had a pivot. Pivoting to completely B2B SaaS, because that was my strength, I realized then. And yeah, it has been 1.5 years since then, building an agency into content marketing and product marketing, trying to crack B2B SaaS entirely, which is like an exciting journey so far.
That's amazing, Vivek. Thank you for introducing yourself.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Vismaya. I head the Orange Heart. The Orange Heart is a very small agency that is based out of Bangalore. And I think one of the questions that often gets asked is, why did you even start this agency, right? So I think it was more of an emotional need gap. That's how I would sort of describe it. Because before starting off the Orange Heart, I had worked for about 7 years and then freelanced for about 3. So I was completely burnt out and had experienced agency life in all ways and forms. I had worked with boutique agencies. I had worked with a larger, multinational agencies as well. So saw how an agency functions, and over a period of time also realized that it's really important to be able to enable, empower small businesses with the right kind of marketing. And of course, they may not be in a position to afford it. So that was on the one hand. On the other, there were also these younglings who were being thrown into the throes of agencies, but they didn't know sort of how to grapple with an agency culture. And also, like Symbol and I keep having these conversations. How do you make sure that you're not being exploited? How do you make sure that you even know that you're being exploited, right? So mentoring, teaching is one of my passions. So I wanted to bring that in as well. And also have an opportunity to collaborate with seasoned professionals from across the globe. So that's how the Orange Heart was born. Just like how Vivek has pivoted, we've had a bit of a pivot in the last few months. We realized that working on projects that involve social good is the place that we actually really enjoyed. So as of the last few weeks, actually, we have completely pivoted to working with nonprofits and CSR initiatives and towards purpose-led brands, not profit-led brands, purpose-led brands. So that is the space that we occupy currently. We're on the brink of turning 3 years old. Apart from that, kindness is a very important, huge central piece for us. So we also have lots of conversations around kindness. We try and document them in the form of a podcast. There are other things that we're trying to do with kindness as the platform as well. So yeah, that's about us.
That's amazing. And just to give Vismaya a shout out, guys, because I've worked with her and I I am quite inspired by her, and I keep saying that to her every now and then, is that she doesn't just speak of kindness when she speaks of it. I've worked with her in the capacity of a freelancer, but I've seen her handle clients, and there are times I have wanted to just tell her that it's so different from what we're used to. She lets everyone get a chance to speak on the call. She will not look at the client like the client is like god, and she will maintain that as an agency, as a client, you are partners and not vendors, in that sense. And I think that's so important. So I just wanted to bring that out because I've seen that myself with her while we worked on some projects in the past. So yes.
Thank you, Simba. You're so kind. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to have this thing, right? So that we actually, I wanted to really get inspired by all of you, and also others also listening to this. So yes. And who else then next? Yeah,
I'll go.
please. Yes.
So hi everyone, I'm Punija. I'm the founder of Zeta Nova. Zeta Nova is it was a by chance started by chance. It was never meant to start in the first place. I was working with pharma companies, with management companies, and everyone. And I just started collaborating everyone. Like there is one agency, they are the manufacturers, and there is someone who is a waste management company, and I just started collaborating, and there it started. Like it was a freelance period, and then someone just suggested that why don't you start your own agency? And someone was like from my family, and I just like, okay, let's give it a thought. I started working with teams, like someone in those fields, and then I said like, chalo team banate hain, we'll start. And we started giving out all those services as a team first. And then one fine day, I just named it Zitanova, and we started giving projects like an agency. And since then, it has been always like we provide services to any company who is into the circular economy, who wants to go into more sustainable business ways. And so we also like Vismaya, we also work with people who are purpose-led brands who are starting new, who are into more sustainable ways of working. So this is how Zitanova started. And it was initially a team of 5 people, and now we are a team of 18 people. And those are not like, I don't treat them as my staff or employee, or like everyone is a friend. So, even some of my people are like elder to me, like they have been in the profession much before me, and they have worked with other brands. So I cannot obviously, like they are more experienced. So I listen to them. I ask them for any suggestions you have, we can do in this. Just because I'm the founder doesn't have like doesn't have it to be like this. Like I am the one who knows everything.
Absolutely.
You can share your inputs, you can give your suggestions, what else we can do. So we are a good team now. We are friends.
That's lovely. That's lovely. I love the whole idea of thinking of them as friends, because usually teams end up, there's so much competition that we are taught amidst copywriters, at least, that there's like, mera idea pehle jana chahiye, that's the general feeling. Thank you so much, Punija. Sanjukta, Mohit, whoever wants to go first.
I think I'll go next. So hi everybody, my name is Sanjukta. I'm a baby in the sense that my agency started just about a year ago. We are very tiny, uh, but our work, we are an art and design studio that's based completely remote. We don't have an office at all. That was one of our main things that we did. Uh, and the people in my studio, they come and go, in the sense that we are focused on bringing on local artists and local artisans for each project. So these people that literally we subcontract, but we subcontract for their work, and we subcontract because they are an individual artist themselves. So it's a lot of full of collaboration and all that. And before that, I was in an agency, dying in an agency, right? And I worked, just as the sole designer for some startups, and sometimes I was a part of a bigger team. And then I did freelance for a while before I decided to start Sovio. So this is where we've come. And I think one of the biggest things that we have also been very aware of is that we are I'm a neurodivergent. I can say that out loud, and a lot of my team members are they've been diagnosed as ADHD. So and so because of that, the team that we have is completely different, and we work in so many weird ways. It doesn't make sense to the people outside, but it makes sense to us. So, and I like Vismaya, kindness is important. So we allow that in our own space also. So yeah, that's us.
That's lovely, Sanjukta. That sounds amazing. Where are you guys based out of? Like,
I am
all
based
of
out of
you?
Chennai. My
Okay.
teammates are based out of Bangalore. One of them moves between Bangalore and Chennai. We have some in Pune. It's just a mix now. We love the remote life, so we're living it.
Love it. I'm going to use this line, as in one of the teasers, because I think it's so important for people to know that people can function without coming to office every day.
Exactly, exactly.
There was a tweet that someone said that, Gen Z just wants people back in office so they can get back to having extramarital affairs at work.
Even we are remote. We are completely remote.
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
think it's. I think. What
yeah,
about you, Vivek? You so
yeah.
you so right?
So remote, and the team is based out of Bangalore plus NCR. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
we're remote too. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
completely.
that's amazing. Loving this remote energy. Coming back to you now, Mohit. Uh, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So it's actually a bit odd to find that all of you guys are running remote agencies, because I'm running the exact opposite of it. I started Wit and Check Group about 5 years ago because my brother said social media pe post dalega to paisa dunga, right? And I had no idea that people get paid. I had no idea social media or even agency kya hota hai. I'm an engineering dropout, so I had a startup that I had just sold. I was looking to do something new, and for that startup I had done some marketing, so I had a tiny idea of what marketing can be. And when my brother said, we'll do this, I said okay, and then we started taking restaurants and then so on and so forth. And it's been 5 years, and 5 years, 70 people now, working with brands like Starbucks, McDonald's, Coke, etc. uh, the key thing, like we've been faced with this question again and again, in podcasts or in conversations with others, ki, why are you guys the ones that brands are choosing? And the only answer I can come up with is we're very, very good at spotting the right talent, right, and then making sure that they are happy working for us, right?
Wow.
Our work model is not remote, right? We encourage everybody to come to office, mainly because we found that during COVID, obviously, like everybody else, our work model was also remote. But what we found out was when you're sitting in the same office space, you give serendipity a chance, right? What happens is you will bump into someone, and then they will have some idea, you will have some idea, which would have never come in a conversation on a Google Meet. And yet, you now are talking about that idea with someone, and someone else is giving you their inputs. So this thing needs to happen in a creative field, especially when you have about 60, 70 people. What starts to happen is work starts becoming a little, monotonous, or more channelized, right, in the interest of time. But then you need those coffee breaks, you need those sutta breaks, you need to mingle with the people that you're working with for you to vibe together. That's our way of thinking. Obviously, a very good friend of mine, um, he runs Invisible Paintbrush. He is also running it completely remotely, and he's doing it. So he has probably figured out how to do the serendipity thing with remote as well. So and you guys are doing a great job as well. So I'm sure there's a way to do it. It just never came up in our
Yes.
thing.
No, but
So that's
I
me.
think that serendipity is the only logical explanation that I've accepted with like in favor of
It,
working from office. So
Yeah.
I think you've like done a great job in putting that across through that. I think because usually we always get in this debate of with people, and then people are like, no, because you won't work from home, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
did work from home.
And one
So
more thing helped us, which was, there's metro in Pune now, and our office is right next to the metro. So everybody just takes, 20 minutes to reach. They're reaching in AC, they're sitting in AC. So the part of going to an office is now no more a burden. It does restrict us geographically, which means,
hmm,
we had to open an office in Mumbai when we got Mumbai clients. We had to open an office in Delhi. But that's how we've been working.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's great. And like you said, I think whatever works out for people uh, is great. And
precisely.
as long as the people are happy, I think that's what it comes down to. So thank you, Mohit, and thank you all of you for introducing yourselves. I'm going to just quickly dive into the topic, the bigger theme that I wanted to discuss with you guys was about. We know that in the ad agency structure, the advertising structure as such, it's been monopolized by a few agencies, which all of us know about. It's not a very big network. We somehow end up knowing each other through someone. I'm sure we take 5 names here, we must be knowing like one of them for sure. It's a small network, which means that it's a good and a bad thing both, because it also means that some people have been monopolizing that, and in a sense that they have set a certain stereotypical how do I put, like a template for how an agency should function, and everyone's been doing that. Just on this call, all 5 of you spoke of how you've been running your agencies, and there are different ways of doing it, but that doesn't come to the limelight so much because we are so used to working a certain way. We are so used to dressing up a certain way and coming to work. Someone told me that you have piercings, you are great for advertising once, when I was in content, and that made so much sense when I actually joined, because everyone looked alike. It's either colored hair, tattoos, and piercings, and talk a certain way, and all of that. And so I wanted to ask that, because you guys have started, and I'm sure you guys have done your research, when you started building teams, you started understanding what are the things you want to take from, other agencies, whatnot. So, according to you, what are the problems? And we can just, maybe point out one or two from each of you to understand what are the problems, big problems that you see in the agency culture right now, and you have personally witnessed. And then maybe it's something that you have wanted to change, maybe that we can come to later on. But what is the problem that you guys have found majorly? So we can follow the same format, because otherwise everyone's staring at the other person's.
so yeah, I went first for the introduction. The biggest problem that I have experienced so far, especially in my industry, right? Um, the client's expectations, like all of us would nod at this, client's expectations are just too high, especially when you are an early stage agency. Like we are a like 1 2 year old agency, right? And we work with mostly early stage B2B SaaS companies who are like 30 to 50 odd. in terms of employee count. They do not have a big marketing team. They have just 2 to 4 folks. They are head of marketing, growth managers, all those people, right? So another problem that we have realized is, apart from client expectations, the scope of work, right? Even early stage companies consider agencies as their group of interns, as Symbol rightly pointed, right? So they go off and beyond the scope, and they often come up with blockers that are not supposed to come at us. So that is one of the major things. And I make sure that I am the filter between my clients and my team, so that they are not mentally bothered that much. Like, it's kind of too heavy for me sometimes, but again, it makes sure that my business is up and running all the time, because the team is at least focused on delivering creative work and executing at time, and not too bothered by clients, let's say project management requirements, or out of the scope requirements. So these two things have been the primary problems, and would love to hear what other people here have to say.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, sorry, Simran, go ahead,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah, so I think for me, the major issue was life was not happening. It was just work, right? And you can't allow for life to happen. I have bank work, I have to take half a day off. I have anything else. It becomes almost like a contraption where, even for the slightest, smallest thing, you have to ask for permission, take half a day off or whatever, and then like get to your things. That was one very deliberate thing that I wanted to change with the culture that we were setting off with. I think the openness. I understand that advertising agencies claim to be very open, claim to be very vocal, claim to say that, we have an open door policy. Why don't you just walk in and tell us what's happening? But then at, at the end of the day, it is still clients' expectations versus what you can deliver, right? Like, as long as you're able to meet the delivery timelines, you're good. Otherwise, sorry, you can't have a life. And I also started noticing that what you were able to bring as experience to your work was getting very limited. You go out, watch a movie, watch a play, hang out with friends who don't belong to the advertising fraternity, do things that actually enrich your life. Then you have insights to actually bring to your work. Now, otherwise, where are you going to mine those insights from? Sitting reading journals, papers, or articles, or even LinkedIn updates is not going to help you build those insights. So, being able to experience life is not something that I was able to do to the maximum possible extent. And also, it becomes a cluster, right? Like you're always hanging out with the same set of people, you're discussing similar ideas, dissing on the same kind of agencies. It's just you're living in that soup. So I think removing yourself from that and trying to see how you can actually enable life to happen to you while you're working is absolutely important, and that's one central thing that I wanted to change with my agency.
So true. I mean, having a life, it's almost something that you have to compromise on, when you join an agency. In one of the earlier agencies that I joined, I think Web Chutney, I'm shameless, I'm not going to not name it, is, I remember one of my boss saying that, please remember, you're not going to make any plans over the weekdays. Like, just not have a life. So work over the weekend. And I'm like, and I was thinking that maybe at that time I was so excited because I'd started off and I was like, okay, maybe, this will give me that experience. And I think that is the bait that we fall for.
Correct.
That, okay, I have to prove myself. And then, of course, that with the competition, you constantly feel that, nahi, agar I'm not staying till 9 o'clock, then his idea will get, accepted. And then you have to stay late. And then it just keeps going, going, going. And one day, 5 years later, you have big dark circles, you have PCOD, and you are just not going anywhere, and you have zero friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I completely agree with what you said, Miss May, and Vivek, you too, in terms of expectations कि आप उंगली दो हाथ पकड़ लेते हैं clients, basically वो वाली बात है. So yes, what about the rest of you?
The first thing I've seen is you're being dismissed. You're not heard right away. You come up with an idea, you share your idea, you share your like something, some information, and you're like, no, this is not good. This will not happen. So you're just being dismissed right away. And that is the
Yes.
first thing I have always faced. I was someone who will always like talk to people, meet people from different backgrounds, and I love doing that. So it helps me get a lot of insights from them, like how this works. And of course, every industry background will have some pros and cons that is happening in their niche. And they share with me, and I come up with, okay, we can solve this problem. And someone above me will always come up with, no, this will not happen. This is not the stream. So just dismissing the idea, like you cannot do that to your team. They might be meeting people what you are not doing. Like on a weekend, I might be working. This is my agency. I'll have some things to sort out, and my team will be free, and they'll be meeting people. They'll be talking to people, and then on a Monday they'll just come up to me and look, like, Punija, this is something that I have heard, and we can do this. So why not allow your team to understand the pain points of any person they're meeting? That will give them more idea and of course a space to be more creative. Like if they are understanding the pain point, it ultimately comes to you like your agency is understanding their pain point.
Absolutely,
So why
absolutely.
just to dismiss their ideas? Like
Hmm.
why stop them from being more creative? Like let them open up. So this has always happened. This has always happened with anywhere I have worked. Like they don't allow
You,
you to open.
you're not heard. I think you should get drunk and you should send your boss like a text saying, "Listen to me."
I
That's
have
it.
done that. I have
Listen
done.
to me now.
I
That
have
would be
done
like,
that. Oh
oh,
God.
amazing, amazing. Much more inspired by you now. That's amazing. Did your boss respond? I hope so.
The next day we should meet. We should talk about it because I was in a very crucial stage of a project and they could not have just fired me. So they just said we need to talk.
Nice, nice. That's a great place to say stuff like that. Or when you're
Thank
in
God I
notice
had the
period.
leverage. I
Yeah.
just I left the company very soon after that. Of course, it was awkward.
Yeah, I can understand, but more power to you for having sent that message. Yes, what about you, Sanjukta?
So I think one thing that I've experienced while working at an agency and one thing that I am preventing from happening at my agency is like capacity. Let's just call it that, right?
Yes.
Because what happens, at least what happened to me when I was at an agency, is that they would assume that you had the capacity to pull everything off and they would hand it over to you. And as the designer, as the creative director, you could not have, right? And because your capacity was pushed to a limit, your ideas were bad, you were working all day and you were working on a Saturday when you're not supposed to be working, and you were expected to come into office when it's raining buckets outside. So that has happened. And when I started, I was like, nay, you don't have. I would ask my I ask my teammates now very simply, it's like, do you have the capacity to pull this off? If they are like, no, I'm overloaded, my dog is sick, oh no, we're not, want to put you through that. Or if they're like, I do have the capacity, but I have to go to the bank at some point. Yeah, okay. So all those things are like, that is the main word that we kind of use in that bigger agencies don't use, and that as smaller agencies we have the capacity and we have the ability to use that word and be like, can you pick this up? Do you have the bandwidth? I hate that word, but do you have the bandwidth to pick it up? Right? If you don't have the bandwidth, don't pick it up. It's okay. As the leader, as Vivek said, as a filter, it is my duty to make sure that they are not, pushed beyond that their glass is never too full. Right? So that's the whole point.
Jabki ideally bigger agencies should be able to do it because they have more like bandwidth, right? I have never heard
Yes.
anyone say, can you do this? please thoda sa chota sa they will write somewhere to just sound like formal etiquettes, but that's
Yeah.
it. So yes, I think that's lovely, Sanjukta, to actually allow everyone to know that they're valued and not just like machines working day and night without using their brains. And it becomes all the more difficult because you also have to get business as a smaller setup, right? But you also have to, and that is when you keep in mind such ethics, that is why it's much more important at that stage. Because as a bigger agency, तो मतलब फिर चलता है कि even if you don't get one business, you already have so many. But when you're smaller, you're trying to get as much as you can. So I think that gets very challenging. So yes, kudos to you. And then now we move on to Mohit.
Yeah. So see, when I started this, I didn't know what agencies were. तो
Hmm.
एजेंसी कल्चर वगैरह तो मेरे को कुछ मालूम ही नहीं था. I had no
Hmm.
idea कि एजेंसी कल्चर क्या होता है, how things work. So me and two of my partners, we just ended up building things that made sense to us, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I mean, I think we got our first female employee 3 months in, and it just made sense for us to give them a period leave because we all have girlfriends. We know how much pain you girls go through, so why not, right? So we
Absolutely.
just now we over the last 5 years that has led us to build this culture in which trust in our employees is the key factor,
Hmm.
right? I still don't know how things work at a Shabang or an Ogilvy or a McCann, right? I mean, I speak with those people. All I hear is, life is fucked, kuch karne ko milta nahi hai, all I'm doing is
Yes.
working. But then I don't know what goes on inside those agencies because
Hmm.
I care very little about what goes on inside those agencies. I care about what goes inside mine. And that's why I think I've been able to build this culture based on trust. So when we take on an employee, we put them through an insanely grueling process where they have to earn our trust, right?
Hmm.
But then
Hmm.
once they have it, we're all out. Like, we don't care if you want to take a holiday, we don't care if you want to take a work from home, we don't care if you're just coming to us, one month in advance and telling ki boss मैं 7 दिन के लिए trek को जा रहा हूँ. I couldn't care less, right? You want to live, you want to have a life, as Vismaya said, right? Like, I've always told my employees ki, if you have a life, your advertising will have a life, right? So that is yeah. So and that comes purely from trust. Like, you have to put, obviously you have to put mechanisms in place where it doesn't get um, you know used in a way that it is not supposed to be used. The companies trust in you, but apart from that, I think, you hire brilliant people and let them do what they do. मैं इंजीनियर हूँ, my
Yeah.
partner is a CA, my third partner has done MBA in operations. हम तीनों को एडवर्टाइजिंग के बारे में ज्यादा कुछ पता है नहीं, राइट?
Hmm. Right.
एडवर्टाइजिंग के बारे में पता है तो हमने जिनको हायर किया है उनको पता है, तो उनको उनका काम करने दो, उनको जैसे करना है
Exactly.
करने दो. As long as you have some guardrails in place that things don't go haywire, that is more than enough to take care of this. And another thing that I have been practicing a lot over, as like, after we started hiring in bunch, right, is honest selfishness. So we are, as the three partners, we are very, very honestly selfish, and we make that clear upfront to our employees that we're very honestly selfish, you should be too, right? We are using you to grow our company, you should use us to grow yourself. And that means at times they will take a course that costs them, more than their salary, and we're more than happy to give it to them because we know that that is going to result in a better campaign later, right? So this,
Exactly.
see, the altruistic nature of business is a facade, if you ask me. Anybody that says, we're a family, and it is true at a smaller scale, but after a while it is not true at all, right? After you have, 40, 50, 60 employees, you guys are no more a family, right? It's a bunch of people that like each other, that are coming to work together, right? You might as well be honestly selfish, and that requires some guardrails in place. So for example, at Wit and Chai, we have this three rule thing, right? The topmost quality we check while hiring is character. The second top quality is enthusiasm, and the third top quality is skill. right? So your skill comes last in our in our assessment of you, because if you have good character and enthusiasm, you can learn skill. But if you just have skill and not character, you're just going to spoil the pot, right? So that's what we've been able to do. And as I said, I didn't have much to add on the side of what I've seen as the fault with big agencies. But I believe, like, from the experience that I got from the people that we've hired, like, we've hired people from FCB, we've hired people from Shabang, and so on and so forth. um, they just like working here because they feel trusted. That's what I can tell. I don't know what happened there.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Mohit, you keep saying that you're from engineering, but you keep coining these terms like serendipity by chance and honest selfishness. So
Yeah.
I think you're more a copywriter now, and you can drop the engineering part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know how to build a narrative.
Yeah, yeah. You're running an agency after all. You
Yeah.
know,
How
that's
many
that's
founders would
lovely.
you hear say? How many founders would you hear saying that I don't know advertising, but I am running an advertising agency?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
true,
all.
right? Yeah, and then he
Yeah.
coins stuff like honest selfishness. I think I love that. It's the
Yeah.
right mix. It's a gray zone. So that's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but you're so right when you spoke of this very important thing, that the trust that is between the employer employee, and that relationship, right? And I have to constantly keep telling people, because I keep getting these abuses by employers in my DM saying that you come with a privileged, point of view, where you're just saying that, you're saying that employees should get this and that, and what about employers? And I'm like, I don't care, because it's not about employer versus employee. It's about it very like 90% of the time employees have been exploited as opposed to employers,
Mm.
right? And I'm not even saying ki suddenly make employees the kings. I'm just saying that kind of balance that out. It can't be in a lot of cases. I understand that as an employer there are certain things that you will have to establish, perhaps, and especially when you grow, right? And I'm not going to say that it means that, like you said, that oh, family wala, where everyone's like, I know your last name and your best friend and your dog and all of that, right? But I'm just saying that the I think to balance out that sort of dynamic is very important. And that will start when people know what their rights are. People don't even know they can say no to an employer, after 6 or 7, or they don't even know on their contract that it's written that they have only 5 working days, but they're working like 7 days, and they can't say no to that. So these are basic things, because we have been our it's been handed down to us by our parents who have lived in survival mode for so long, right? And so have we, a lot of us have. But that's changing more, because people are exploring that they can do things on their own, right? And for that, the first more thing is, even if you want to do a 9 to 5 job, that's amazing, but know what your rights are. And that's why conversations like these we have. And I'm so glad that I took this mix, because we have someone who has like a Vivek who's just started off, and we have like a Mohit who's 5 years, and then we have the rest of you between that. So it's at different stages of how you see the growth happen in a company, right? And all these perspectives matter. That is why all these perspectives matter. So Mohit has spoken about like what are the kind of things is added to his agency to sort of ensure it's more inclusive, and it's more I don't want to use the word toxic, because I've been like called out so many times that you overuse this word, so stop using it. So I'm just trying to avoid that in this conversation, but to make it less toxic. Okay. So yeah, what about you guys? What are the kind of things you guys have perhaps included, or want to include in going on? It doesn't mean that you have the right resources right now, because I also require takes some sort of losing a few things, and getting some resources in place to make an agency. That's like, you can't be like, अच्छा मेरे पास uh, 3 टीम मेंबर्स हैं, एंड मैं उन 3 टीम मेंबर से बोल रही हूँ तुम काम मत करो, तुम आराम करो, आई विल हैंडल द स्ट्रेस. वो नहीं हो पाता. Makes sense, right? So what are the things you guys have included, want to include? And also, this is also for the listeners who are listening, and for all 5 of you to tell to people, maybe this is something you can include. And please have your point of views also for bigger companies, which you think is the kind of structure or something that they could follow, though they'll be like hato tum log, they listen to us, but we'll keep trying. Okay. So yes.
Yeah. So I think one thing that every agency or every business in general should have for their team is flexibility. And Mohit said a lot about trust building and honest selfishness, and using the company to grow their career and their personal selves. So I believe apart from trust building, as an employer, you have to have the regard for your team as well, right? So in my case, when I had a team of like 5 to 6, now we are 12 odd people. I started a special Slack channel just for appreciating each and every individual, the work they are doing, the change they are bringing, the new creative ideas they are bringing to the table for XYZ clients. So that really helped in boosting their motivation. And the next time they were, bringing up uh, more fruitful ideas for me and my clients. And the second thing was, of course, having the right flexibility. I do not care you work 8 hours a day. I do not care if you work 4 to 5 hours a day. I don't care what time you work at, because we have some calls in the US shift as well, right? Like 10:30 to 11 in the night. I adjust most of those, but again, the flexibility provides a lot of boost to their creativity and the way they operate as well. So these two things have worked quite well for me so far. But I am here for more of having a learning experience than sharing my experience, because we are a young company, and I am literally not sure how will things turn out when I scale off to 30, 40 people agency. But now that I'm here, I hear all of you. I am sure like I'll figure out communicating to you all.
That's amazing. And that's
Yeah.
so sweet of you also. I'm sure you will figure it out. And you spoke of something very important, which is giving appreciation, right? And as much as feedback, I keep saying that, though feedback, but also appreciate sometimes. सबको अच्छा लगता है सुनना that you've done a good job, and it's almost starts off with our parents, right? We love it when they say, oh, अच्छा dusting किया, अच्छा झाड़ू मारा, and then वहां से at work. So I think that's amazing. So kudos to that for setting that culture right. Even though like you said that you're starting as a young company, and secondly flexible timing. So both things are very very integral, and I think in bigger setups it's all the more important, because there's so many people working and they just feel that they are another computer sitting at work. So they need to feel like they're human too. So that's amazing. What
Yeah,
about
and
you? Yeah.
yeah, this thing came from when I was working with an agency as a freelancer. That was like a huge SaaS agency, one of India's biggest SaaS agency. I worked with them continuously for 6 to 8 months, and that thing clearly lacked appreciation. Like clients loved my work, CMOs loved my work, but no appreciation was coming from my manager, who I talked to the entire day, right? So. Once the manager was changed, things changed, and my productivity was literally 2x. So that thing helped me realize.
Absolutely, it's so important. I feel it so much, because as a freelancer, I'm like in the no zone area, right? Like nobody cares, because you're not an entrepreneur and you're not like an employee either. So when so abhi Good Friday tha, right? And someone reached out to me and said, I'm not working today. Is like, aren't you a freelancer? I said, so what? If I'm a freelancer, I can't like, because they expect that you obviously there's no right that comes with that in terms of holidays or this or that. But I feel that it has nothing to do with you being a freelancer or entrepreneur or working as an employee. It has to do a lot with empathy and in general, right? Just to know that okay, my entire team is not working, and she would also not be working because it must be a holiday for her. Ask. I'm not saying assume. Ask.
Yeah.
So yes. So yes, Punija.
Punisha, Miss Maya. Oh.
Anyone. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
Anyone.
okay. No. Okay. So there are a couple of things that I think are important to highlight over here. The first thing I think is we need to really start breaking the cycle, because there is this feeling, right? Oh, I have suffered. Why don't you go through it too? Which is just so sad, because ultimately what you're doing is you're not questioning status quo. You're not doing anything to better the process, better the industry. You're just continuing to do what probably in the minds of the agency owners back then worked, but which no longer does. Even back then, it didn't work, but it's just that you didn't know better. So to that effect, I think there are three things that I think about a lot, right? Like vulnerability, voice, and vocabulary. Very, very important. So if I, as an agency owner, think that I have to be at my prime always, I have to always put on a facade, put on an act, and say that, everything is fine, this is who I am, then that vulnerability is not something that gets transferred, right? So it's a two-way street always. Then you're going to have employees, like Mohit spoke about trust. I really do believe in that, right? Like you're going to have employees having to unfortunately resort to lying because you are not being vulnerable enough. And therefore, they don't think that there is enough space for them to be themselves, which is really, really sad. The second thing is developing the right vocabulary. I think a lot of us struggle with that, right? Like when we are giving feedback, when we're appreciating, when we're even trying to grasp, without the right vocabulary, it becomes really difficult to also translate your thoughts. One of the things that definitely helped us is we wanted to be inclusive, but did not know how to be inclusive. So we put ourselves through, a workshop which was conducted by a psychologist. And today, I can confidently say that if we ever have a neurodivergent person on our team, we are confident of being able to communicate with them in a way that they would feel comfortable. In fact, we did have somebody on our roster. And it is important for you to put yourself through the rigors of unlearning and relearning if you want to have a community of people that will stand by you. So there are two aspects to this, right? One is because you feel you've been shortchanged in your life, you also tend to feel like everybody values everything only in terms of money. It may not be the case. It may also be in the way you show your empathy, the way you're able to be kind. So that's probably one of the reasons why our collaborators like to collaborate with us, even when sometimes the amount is definitely not doing justice to their skills. They know that they're going to have a good time. They know that they're going to feel seen and heard. They also know that this is not exploitative because it is the agency raking in the extra moolah, right? Like I've had, in fact, one of the projects that Symbol and I worked on, we realized that the project was really like going on and on and on, and a 15-page docket became like a 60-page thing, and the client expected us to do it within the same budget that was set aside initially. So I had to take a call and say, let's put a pause on this, because it is not fair that I'm not able to pay my collaborators more for the additional amount of effort that they have put in. So on the one hand, there is that monetary aspect. On the other hand, you should also know how to feel empathetic. I think how is very important, right? And voice, just being able to give everybody that voice, just being able to say that, you know what, don't treat me like I'm your boss. Treat me like I am somebody who's willing to learn from you as well. Not everybody has everything figured out. It's the biggest misnomer, right? Like thinking that a boss knows everything. It's very similar to how we treat our parents. Our parents know everything. No, they don't. So it's very important for us to actually acknowledge that and say, you will be given a voice if you are within the company. And it does not matter if you have to call out bullshit, if you have to actually say, hey, this is not something that I'm feeling very comfortable with, or even question somebody with authority. So I think those are absolutely important for me. And what can be taken on at scale, I think, is when you promise all of those things while hiring somebody, walk the talk. Don't just say those things to get them into your fold and bind them by a contract. Walk the talk. If you're saying that you have the power as an agency owner to fire clients if they are behaving poorly with the employees, or if they are being exploitative and asking you to go above and beyond the scope of work, uh, go ahead. You have to make certain hard calls as a business owner. You can't sit pretty and say, but this is going
Mhm.
to affect the bottom line. This is going to impact the profit and loss account. No, yes, for sure it's going to, but then at what cost are you trying to hold on to that extra money, right? So I think that and also in some sense because of the space that we feel most comfortable in, which is a social good and trying to propagate that message. I believe as marketers we are change agents, right? Like we are constantly putting out messaging that is impacting change. So encouraging a spirit of altruism in some sense, making sure that you're thinking beyond yourself and saying this may not immediately affect me, but it is important in the long run, and everything is circular. That's what I believe, and it is going to come back to you at some point in time. So that I think is something that bigger agencies can take on a scale, and also because they have the financial muscle to do so, they just have to make up their minds. So yeah.
Yeah, yes, they do. And to also fire clients, like you said. Uh, so one of my boss used to say that, oh, when he's hired me, like, Biden had, was trying to fire Nokia because Nokia was not listening to this and that. And I said, okay, when I joined the team, he would literally bend over for every damn client. Like the client says hello and be like wagging his tail saying, hello, hello, sir. It's like almost like just give in all that. Come on, dude, grow some, you know. So that's what, but that's what you said, right? Like walk the talk, and actually, because you can do that. Like big ass agencies have the kind of people, and also I think it establishes that sort of rapport with the client, saying that, okay, you know what, I also come with something. You also have to put me at the same pedestal that I am putting you on, and that means that we both have the agency to say yes or no to something that we don't mutually agree on. So yes.
So I think one thing that I realized when I was looking at the questions that you even asked preliminary is that first of all you're hiring adults. You have to understand that they are
So
not children. They are you're hiring adults. So the one thing when you're hiring adults is that they come with their own systems. They come with their own ways of working. And when you're hiring them and if you're bringing them on your, if you are taking them into a team, your job as the manager has to be to figure out, okay, like this is where they fit. And if they don't fit in the hiring process, don't just save yourself the pain, save themselves the pain, and don't bring them on. It's a simple thing. You're hiring an adult. Interns, yeah, you can say, okay, interns, they're learning, you can give them that slack, but you cannot give slack to people who are coming in with years of experience, right? And if they're coming with adult like things, they know what works for them, they know what doesn't work for them. And it is your job also to ask what works for them, what doesn't work for them, right? And especially in a space like where we are, where we're all neurodivergent, is that lots of things don't work for us the way it works outside, right? So we're all forced to have a check-in with us every day and ask us like, hey, how are you doing? Is it not okay today? Great, we're not going to, we take like that honesty that Mohit was talking about, we take that very seriously. Because if you're an adult, you are honest. You better be honest about what you're feeling. We're not going to cajole the answer out of you, or not. We're not going to, expect you to do something when we've told you that you shouldn't be doing it, or stuff like that is definitely there. And I think also one of those things that we really enjoy is that motivation to work is inherent, right? And everybody wants to work. It's just people pretend like the more stress you add on to the work, the more they don't want to come to their job. Like Mohit was talking about how their office is right outside the metro, and therefore they're able to. That is that is removing a stress factor from their lives. It's like they don't have to drive down to the office. They just need to take the closest metro they can find, right? So all those things are things that you can do as an agency owner, and and uh, and definitely you can make those decisions as a big agency also. And I must point this out because I told my team I would. My team pointed out today that agencies don't need shepherds, they need facilitators. And I was
absolutely,
mind
yes.
blown. And I
Yeah.
said, you know what, I'm taking this. You don't need more managers, you need people who can get the job you don't need people who can get the job done. You need to make sure that the job is done the nicest way, and your creatives are creative. There is no point in hiring a designer or a copywriter if they're not putting out their best work. That means you're doing a bad job as
Yeah.
a manager. So cut those extra managers that you have in the system, because they're not doing anything. They're just draining your pocket. So yeah,
Yes.
like those are the things that even bigger agencies can truly follow for sure. So very quick and short.
Absolutely. No, and I love it because I
So
think
true.
someone was saying
No,
something.
no, no. I was
Yeah,
just appreciating that.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think that I feel that the shepherd reference that a lot of managers micromanage, and I feel that s- oh, it's like overwatering plants. थोड़ा सा पानी डालो उगेगा
हाँ,
मतलब दिन 2 घंटे बाद खड़े रहो पानी डालते रहो it'll die because you're constantly reminding them that they can't do it on their own.
yeah.
And it's a failure of you as a manager, right? That मैंने तुझको हायर किया पर तू तो गधा निकला तो मैं बेवकूफ. It's basically as simple as
Yeah.
that. So anything, Mohit, would you like to add anything else to what you said?
Yeah, quickly.
Hmm.
So what you guys said, all of you, it's it's super on point, and but it's more umbrella, right? I want to bring it back down to the ground, and one of the things that we've been doing and failing many times at it, but we've consistently been doing is we test counterintuitive solutions. So, for example, in our agency, if you are in office after 7, your salary is cut, right? So what that does is it makes you way more efficient while you are in office, right? Now we didn't know that this solution existed, right? Or we consistently tried to get people into the office on time by telling कि अगर time पे आओगे नहीं तो we will cut your salary, or by giving incentives also, because that is the norm, right? But then you test counterintuitive stuff like this, like it kind of, we're in advertising, we're creative people, we can have creative solutions to problems in workspaces,
Absolutely.
right? So keep, like, as owners, I think, or as founders or owners of ad agencies, or as a business, our job after a point just becomes making sure that we're deploying the knowledge that we have to make our workspace a more productive workspace by deploying the knowledge that we have, right? So I think that is a small thing that I would like to add, because most of the points have been covered by you guys anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, I love
this is
Sanjit,
that.
for
can
that
I add
shepherd.
something?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, sure,
please.
sure.
So, like, apart from everything, the most, like, what I said, the most, मतलब, ज़्यादा जिम्मेदारी वाला बात है, the responsibility a founder has is like you have to keep the balance between the companies, the people you're taking the work from, and next your employees. Like you have to think from the point of view of the companies that you're providing the services and your people.
True.
Like
So true.
you cannot just say that this is our company and we are providing the services. You have to be like us. They are giving you their hard-earned money, and you're utilizing that, and you're paying that to your people. So
True.
you have to be the one to keep the balance. And then
True.
this is like a very cliche line. Like you have to unlearn the toxic traits that you have seen in your previous agencies or anywhere you have seen them. You have to
Absolutely.
unlearn those toxic traits. What
Absolutely.
I do is it is very clear in my agency that I make my people just earn their weekends. You earn your weekends. You want your weekends off, you work for the rest of the 5 days. And like Mohit said, like I don't care you're working for 8 hours, 10 hours, how many hours. You know you have a deadline. भाई 25 को देना है, आप 20 तक खत्म करो, आप अपना खत्म करो. You have 5 days off. You have your 5 days off.
Hmm.
So as long as you're not earning those weekends, you'll not understand the value of your work or the peace the weekends is offering you. You'll not enjoy your life if you're having burdens of all the work. But आप बाहर Saturday you're meeting a friend, you're going to grab a coffee, and आपके दिमाग में है भाई मैंने Friday तक खत्म नहीं किया है, मुझे ये Monday submit करना था, and you're coming back and you're working on a Saturday night. You don't deserve that. You have to
Yes.
be quick. You have to, like, of course, creatives need that time to be more creative and more productive. But at the end of the day, it's the work that is giving you your paycheck at the end of the month.
Hmm.
तो
Hmm.
आप कितना भी पैशनेट हो जाओ, आपको आपके पैशन से नहीं, आपके काम करने के तरीके से पैसे मिलते हैं.
सही बात है. जब तक आप काम नहीं करोगे, पैशन के बारे में सोचते रहोगे, तो कैसे चलेगा, है ना?
Maybe
That's
this is like
true.
a very small agency, but eventually if you're going to a bigger agency, no one will care. No one will care about, like, हम अभी कितना भी बात कर लें, up there no one will care about it, but somewhere these people will go and work. Like suppose मेरे टीम में आज हैं, कल किसी को कोई बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है, they are getting a better packages, they're going somewhere and no one will care कि आपके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है, आपका सर दुख रहा है, no one will care, and that is the ground reality. So you have to be responsible कि आप अपने आप को कैसे हैंडल करते हो.
सही बात है.
So earn your play, earn your peace, earn your weekends.
Okay, that's an interesting point of view. I think we have covered a lot of things in terms of how each of you manage your teams, and I would just like to add something is that I feel that when you are at a leadership position, like all of you are, um, and I'm with my invisible team, is that you you realize that the limelight is not on you but on the team that you're building, and I think that's the difference between being a boss and a mentor, right? I had gone to Symbiosis to give some for some panel discussion, and there was this person who had come there, and he kept speaking about like 2 hours he took, even though he was just given like half an hour. He spoke for 2 hours about his agency is doing well, but he only spoke about himself, like himself. Okay, and for 2 hours, and he kept talking about, so I'm sure the agency is doing great, and the fact that he did not recognize the people who are putting their hard work behind it, because it really is, मतलब हम कितनी भी बात कर ले, आप लोग कितने भी genius हो, if you have a team that decides to not work today, तो आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते. That is how unions work, right? वो खड़े हो जाते हैं ना बाहर कि आज हम काम नहीं करेंगे, हड़ताल, right? That's how it works, right? That you have to also understand that they hold that power, and in order to do that you also have to understand the efforts they put in. So I think at the end of the day, this entire discussion that we're having is to ensure that there is an environment where, I'm not saying 90-100% of the time everyone's happy, but maybe even if we hit a 70 we are doing great, right? But to ensure that that environment happens and that you're acting like a leader who understands कि भैया मेरे टीम को अभी शाइन करना है और मैं सपोर्ट करूंगा, ना कि मैं सबसे आगे खड़ा हूँ एंड मेरी टीम पीछे मतलब बस क्लॉक इन क्लॉक आउट कर रही है, राइट? सो आई थिंक that was the intention why I have started this series, and I'm going to also be holding a lot of more physical workshops, and I would love for you guys to be a part if it happens in different cities. But I'm going to expand this to that level because I also feel that we need to interact with people who are perhaps trying to build their own agencies now, and you guys are already there, you've learned it from the good and bad, and you can obviously impart that knowledge. So yes, that, and like I would like to say thank you so much everyone for being a part of this. I was just thinking that if you guys want to like say some some lines, something to sign off, and I don't want it to be like some Shakespearean quote, you can though, but not expecting anything of that sort, but anything आपको कुछ ऐसा बोलना है कि end में just for someone who's listening to this and invested 1 hour in this to leave with, so that you can do, and then we can say our bye-byes. So yes, anybody. I love this asking anybody and then everyone's like,
Okay, I will very quickly say something. As an agency owner, as a founder, as somebody who is, spearheading the entire thing, it's very important to invest in your own emotional intelligence and work on that, because every single day you have to take multiple decisions, and each and every decision can lead to a different outcome, and therefore keeping all of the variables in mind and ensuring that you are staying true to the word that you have given to your clients, to your employees, to your collaborators, to everybody. Make sure that there is one big signboard right in front of you which actually puts out what it is that you should believe in, and stay true to it. I think that's very, very important. Everybody can build any kind of agency, but what is it that you set out to build? Make sure that you're doing it at the end of year 2, year 3, year 15, year 20. That's all.
Beautiful. Thank you. What about you guys?
I don't have anything to add, but as Vismaya, advised to work on your emotional intelligence. So I was waiting for the entire discussion to end to ask all of you that how do you actually uh, stay sane as an agency owner all the time to be very blatantly straight, right? And how do you work on emotional intelligence so much that you can scale flexibly, you can like you can operate sanely. So that's the primary question as a young founder.
I
Yeah.
just have three things. The first, like, be the mentor you never had, you were deprived of. Be that. Understand your team's strengths and weaknesses and assign them the work accordingly. Don't overburden them. Like, if you're overburdening them with things they cannot do, they will not do. Or maybe that they'll do it of, and that will be not up to that group. You'll not get the results. So be the person, be the mentor you never had. Be their guide.
That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
They say ganja helps. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Vivek, you're just starting out, man. There's like, if you're going insane right now, you have a thing coming for you. It gets progressively crazier, right? You have like you will face problems, you will face issues that you didn't even know could exist, right? It's just a crazy world. You just have to be up for it. So for example, the work life balance, or the stuff that I like, the beautiful workspace that I try to create for my employees, none of that exists for me or my partners. Right? It's Saturday.
True.
I'm flying out. After this call, I'm gonna have 2 meetings tomorrow. I have zero work-life balance. Right? And that's so. For example, there are founders out there who will choose to have a work-life balance, who will run their agency, or who will run their life the way they run their agency. I am not that kind of a person. So I think you have to find your own cadence, as to what works for you, how much stress is enough for you, and at that point you have to figure out, or you just have to understand that at the end of the day we're just on what was that Carl Sagan said, just more specks of nothingness suspended in nothingness, or something like that. You just We're all on a pale blue dot out in nothingness, so don't worry too much about these problems. And yeah, I think that's the right way to grow. You have to figure out your own cadence.
I think Mohit said ganja helps.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
You have to have
can
some
you cut that part out?
anchor to hold on to.
I will. I'll just beep that.
Yeah.
Ganja helps. Okay.
Yeah. So
We need that on a t-shirt.
so as a parting thought, no, I have to leave, so I'll quickly put in the parting thought, which was, kitna bhi kar lo na, you are going to fail, right? We're all agency founders here, right? So that's what I'm talking about. And if an agency employee is listening to this, maybe this is not very useful to you, but as an agency founder, you have to understand that you are going to fail a lot. I am not talking about in business.
True.
Business में तो होगा, वो तो सबको मालूम है. But you will make the wrong choices. You will treat employees incorrectly. It is going to happen, right? As long as your intent is in the right place, eventually. So, for example, out of the, like, we have 70 people working with us right now. We've had about 15 people leave since we started, right?
Mm.
And some of them was genuinely our fault, right? And like some of them got married and moved away, some of them had to study and moved away, but some of the employees that left, it was genuinely our fault, and we have to accept that we are going to make mistakes. We have to acknowledge when we make mistakes that, oh, okay, this was our fault, so we're sorry for that. And you will lose out good talent because of that. Just be prepared for that and look at it in the long run. And employees, just please, as Weiner said, have a backbone, right? Don't work at Ogilvy or Shebang simply because they're big agencies, and you're just going to be this small cog in a big wheel. You're not going to learn much. Just come to a smaller agency if you really, really want, work experience.
Lovely.
Yes.
That's going to be the teaser for this, okay? So we set the tone for
Not
everyone.
the previous thing
For
I
the
said,
helps.
right? Like we're
Not the
yeah,
helps.
yeah,
Not the helps.
yeah.
Okay. Got that. Mohit, if you want to hang up, or you can, though the call will get like end in another 10 minutes, so we can perhaps just have Samyukta speak and then we can all say bye-bye. Does that work for you, or
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
now?
I'll wait.
Okay,
Just
cool.
yeah, just two thoughts that I
No,
had
no, please. Yeah.
is, first of all, be human, expect human, right? Humans make errors, you will make errors, your people will make errors, be okay, expect that, right? It's all right to prepare for that also. And secondly, no problem is too big, no problem is unsolvable, and no problem requires you to break your head over a weekend when you're supposed to be watching a movie with your partner. Don't don't stress, right? We're an agency. If you want Monday, come, we can start work on Monday. It's okay. Take the weekend off. Like, nothing. I would just want to say that adds to what Mohit said is that yes, we all are very important people and we think advertising is very important, but we are not a doctor. We are not a police person. We're not any of those essential
Ouch.
workers. So we can take a break.
Ouch. Ouch, that hurts. I know that makes a lot of
Any
sense.
any employee, any person trying to join a small agency, just know that we as founders, we cry too. We grab our favorite person or pillow or dog or anything we have and we cry too. Like नहीं हो रहा है यार, practically बहुत खराब life है. We do that, and the next moment we just like we go for a hair wash or we go for a coffee, and we are done. नहीं चलो काम करते हैं. We
Yeah.
do that. We have our weaknesses too.
Yes, I love how emotionally charged this conversation is, and thank you so much. I think this is lovely. It's been a great conversation, with all of you, and thanks for putting up some insane point of views across.